Welcome to Charged Up Studio Live, where small business owners get charged up for success. Are you a small business owner? Do you find yourself struggling through the many responsibilities that come with the title entrepreneur? Well, we're here for you. Charged Up Studio is hosted by Market Atomy LLC, your prescription for what we call OPA. What is OPA? It's when you become so overwhelmed with the confusion that comes with business ownership that you become paralyzed and ultimately avoid doing anything in hopes it will take care of itself, or you put it off till later. Does that sound familiar? I'm your host, Danna Olivo, and each week we bring a business professional eager to charge you up as they talk about the many things that keep you from moving forward with your small business. So are you ready to get charged up for success? Let's hit it. So welcome back to Charged Up Studio, where we navigate the highs and the lows of the business world with the biggest and brightest minds in the field. So today we're continuing our exploration of a subject that resonates with every entrepreneur out there: artificial intelligence, or AI. I'm Danna Olivo, your host, and this month's focus is on Mind Matters, exploring the frontiers of artificial intelligence. So far, we have had featured guests talking about the different tools such as ChatGPT and the various marketing options for digital design and development. Last week we had an interview with Rick Elmore talking about Simply Noted, an AI and robotic approach to mass production of personalized greeting cards. So what does all of these different tools and streamlined processes have in common? Well, today I'm excited to bring a very special guest who is going to wrap this all up in a pretty bow for us. Cristina DiGiacomo.
DiGiacomo, but that's okay.
DiGiacomo. Okay. Cristina DiGiacomo is the Chief Philosophy Officer for the Philosophers. Okay, I had to get that right. Philosophers Council. She holds a Master of Science in Organizational Change Management, and she is the ultimate guru when it comes to helping us understand how all of this AI madness impacts business growth. So without further ado, let's all give a Charged Up Studios welcome to Miss Cristina DiGiacomo. Welcome, Cristina.
Thank you, Danna. Hi, everyone out there. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
I'm excited to have you. This has been an ongoing topic in many of the podcasts that we have done because it's become so popular. But at the same time, its popularity has opened up new hazards that could help, hurt our businesses as well. But before we get into the meat of things, I have one special question I want to ask you, and I ask this of all of my podcast guests. So are you ready for this?
Sure.
If you could go back in time and give your young self some solid advice, what advice would you give her, and at what age?
Don't marry him. And at like 28.
Oh my goodness. There's got to be a story behind that. That is so funny.
But if okay, so yeah, that would be number one. But if everyone's sort of looking for that kind of lofty, I would say I would go back to the age of 7, and I would just say to my 7-year-old self, you're stronger than they are.
Yes.
Stronger than you think you are.
That's excellent. That's excellent. No, and if all of us could believe in what our strengths really are, we would be so much farther than where we are today. I mean, I'm a perfect example of this. So, we learn through lessons learned, and rather than looking back, even though I asked that question, looking back is to kind of reflect on, if I'd known this then, where would I be today? So let's delve into this, and I'll ask you flat out first, okay? What is AI, or artificial intelligence? Let's get a basic understanding of what we're talking about here.
So artificial intelligence, and I'm just to kind of back up, I'm coming at this from a very non-technical perspective. So I'm not a developer. I'm not someone who builds AI tools. So I'm coming at this very much from an observer point of view, but also as an end user point of view, and just someone who's really passionate about the subject matter. So the way I look at an artificial intelligence is it's a tool that takes existing information and enables you to interact with existing information, where it learns about this existing information in new ways that allows you to engage with that information in new ways. The learning process, the way the intelligence piece happens, is somewhat of a mystery for a lot of people, and is also somewhat of a mystery for the people who are working with AI. And there are different models of how the artificial intelligence actually learns, but it is somewhat of a very technical process. But essentially, it's a way for technology to learn about information in a much deeper way, so that people can interact with information in a much deeper way, as opposed to the way that we've been interacting with information or data, or technology in general, for the past 30 years, 40 years.
Yeah, but it's like coming out of a fog, per se. Okay, when you think about it, okay, all of a sudden you have all this information at your fingertips, and you as a business owner need to be able to weed through this information and customize it so it fits within your business model, or within your frame of reference of what you're trying to do. And that's, we're delving right into the deep end of this when we talk about AI. So with that being said, let's talk about, okay, what's important to think about as a business owner when it comes to AI? What are the critical components that we need to walk away with, that's going to help us, but what's also going to hurt us if we don't pay attention?
Sure. So the first thing that you have to do as a business owner is just to really understand what's available, like what is really possible, and what are the limitations, right? And a lot of people think that AI is just sort of this it is somewhat magic, right? Like you press a button and magical things happen, and it's really not. It's just another tool. And some people would even consider it as like a really sort of elaborate automation, right? So I think it's important, if you're a business owner and you're interested in figuring out or learning about how AI could be relevant for your business, is just to, there's a lot of information out there that's introductory or beginner information specifically for business owners on what AI is and how you should use it. So start with really a beginner mindset.
Yeah.
But the most important thing is strategy. So you have to think about what you're using it for, why you're using it, in what way you're going to use it, and approach it with a strategic plan.
Right.
This is no different than thinking about, how am I going to approach a digital transformation within my organization? This is no different than, how am I going to do a restructuring? Or what is my employee engagement plan? Any new initiative within any business requires a strategy. And
Right.
so AI is no different.
Yes.
And so that is my biggest piece of advice, is start with a strategy. And so the strategic components are: educate yourself on the category or the domain, understand your really understand, go back to the basics, understand, SWOT your business, your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats.
Right.
Go really, revisit all the things in your business that maybe you haven't looked at in a while. Really understand where you may have some opportunities for optimizations,
Right.
and get all of that down on paper before you even take the next step. So that's
Well,
my
yeah.
advice right there.
Oh, and you're at, as a strategist myself, anytime you're going to get into any kind of implementation or campaign or anything that you're going to do for your business, you go in with specific questions. And artificial intelligence, when you think about it, okay, is really like a huge database, is what it is. All it's doing is it's pulling information that is out there that other people have thought about or posted or whatever is out there. So you're not reinventing the wheel every time. When you have questions, or let's say you're getting ready to you know put your strategy together for the next year, and you want to know, okay, what are some campaigns or what are some strategies that I can put into place that's going to help me? Say, for instance, China decides that it's going to buy up all the steel that's available right now. Okay, what is my best strategy to compensate or to make sure that my company is not going to be hurt by that? And by asking this question out there in the AI universe, whatever you're using, whether it's ChatGPT or something like that, you're going to get back a lot of different suggestions. These are all suggestions that people have used in the past, correct? They put the questions out there, they put strategies together. All you're doing is you are taking advantage of the mastermind of all of these strategists out there, right?
That's correct. And I'd also love to talk about an internal scenario where
Exactly.
AI could also be, I think about, I did a talk on artificial intelligence, and I was speaking with a CEO of a technology company that does managed service providing. And what they discovered is they used an AI tool to learn about all the different customer service tickets and troubleshooting needs that would come into their company. And the AI then learned what were like the top priorities. Like, it began to learn the different trends of the troubleshooting needs of the customer service base. And what ended up happening is then they built a system using the AI to help their customer service reps or their tech support people to then ask the database or to ask the AI like questions like, hey, I'm experiencing this. And because the AI had already learned thousands and thousands and thousands of data points on specific technical troubleshooting issues, the AI would be able to serve up, like, here are the top 5 things that might be occurring. And it cut their customer service time and their tech troubleshooting time significantly. So it's not even, I mean, so that's the thing about how AI can help, not only in terms of being able to mine the external mastermind, but there's a whole opportunity of leveraging your existing company information, whether it's your finances, whether it's your customer service database, your sales database, like whatever your internal data is, and being able to use that to be able to further, extrapolate from that and see what opportunities can lie from that.
No, you're absolutely right. It's what it boils down to is the fact that, we're in business to service our customers. Okay. And that customer experience is what's critical. And, what you're talking about is mining this data on what do our customers want? What is it that they're expecting from doing business with us, whether it's a product or whether it's a service or whatever. And what we're doing is we're pulling from that mastermind or that database of other businesses or feedback from clients on what they're expecting. I've got a database that I've designed, and it's just in the early stages, and it's a business health check database. And what it does is it assesses existing companies, small businesses across 40 different KPIs, everything from the financial side, the sales side, the marketing side, everything, but they're all interdependent. And ultimately, after we beta test the initial, we're going to build in an AI component to it, which is going to take that customer or that user on a journey. Once they answer certain questions in this area, it's going to automatically be able to determine, okay, where are those gaps, and give them suggestions on what needs to be, implemented or what could be done. And this is what excites me about where AI is going and the processes and the systemized approaches that we can take to basically streamline everything we do in business and cut down the workload that we're having to, put ourselves through, and ultimately increasing our profit margins. What do you say to, let's talk about the workforce change here. Okay. Let's talk about the skills development. So many people out there worry about AI and AI taking our jobs away. All right. But in actuality, we've got to look at it from the other side and the jobs it's creating. Okay. Let's talk to that a little bit.
Oh, I just absolutely love this question because, I certainly completely understand that there are some things that AI can do that take tasks completely away, right? If I were a copywriter, I would be a little concerned right now, right? If I were a freelance copywriter. However, I have, that's a whole other conversation. I have some advice for those freelance copywriters out there. But essentially, what happens is when something like this gets introduced into the system, and when I say system, I'm talking about labor, in business, what happens is a level of knowledge needs to be built around it. Right. A level of understanding and knowledge and utility and the ability to understand how it should be applied, in what scenarios it should be applied, determining what is a successful result because of the use of it. there's all this kind of knowledge that needs to be around it. That in and of itself is a level of understanding and skills that it is so exponential that it renders whatever is replaced irrelevant, because it just completely expands that skill set into that new thing.
Right.
So so that's that's my answer, is if you're worried about AI taking something away from you, then either you have two choices. You can either lean into it and figure out in what way it's going to replace you, and then lean into how, and then figure out like how to become knowledgeable in how it's going to replace you, and then become the expert in, if you're, for example, a paralegal, and you're worried about how AI is going to render you useless, then become an expert in artificial intelligence for paralegal purposes.
Right.
Then you're indispensable.
Right.
Because no lawyer in their right mind is going to want to learn about artificial intelligence and law, or using it for, they're still going to need you. So
right,
either lean into it or you don't, and find something else. But that's the
Yep.
thing.
Yep.
So you either figure out how to use this tool to your advantage, or you don't. I mean,
Right. Right.
the other thing with regards to skill set with an AI, especially if you're a business owner, is let people play with it. Let your employees play with it. Curiosity and willingness to learn is the new is still the skill to look for in your employees. You do not need to train your people in AI development or AI technical skills. And for God's sakes, if you don't have if you're not actually developing AI tools, or if you are not in the business of developing AI, do not hire a six-figure AI person unless you're planning to scale your entire business in AI. There are lots of ways to train your people in simple AI tools that are totally low cost, or free classes online where they can learn a few simple things that could have such a huge impact on your business, and can give them additional skill sets that could have such a great return for your bottom line. You do not have to go now looking for people who specialize in AI. Just upskill your people. And especially if you've got people who are like, hey, this sounds really interesting and really cool, throw them at it.
Yeah. Well, and I love the way you say that. I love what you're saying here, because I think that's critical to understand, that AI is just a tool. It is not going to necessarily replace the strategy or the mindset that needs to go behind utilizing that tool. Like you were talking about copywriters, yes, AI, chat GPT, or whatever, that can help with the writing concept, but it can't help with developing the storyline. It can't help with developing the plot and everything that goes into writing a story or writing a book or anything like that. What it can do is it can help you find the words to express an opinion or something like that you can turn around and readjust. And that's where I think a lot of people need to understand is, rather than a tactical, task-oriented element, which is what chat GPT or AI can help with, there's still the overall strategic side of things that chat GPT or AI cannot help with.
Exactly. Nothing can replace our imagination. It's
Right.
not called artificial imagination.
Yeah. Yes.
It's called artificial and intelligence, or artificial, it's just a tool. It cannot replace our humanity. It cannot replace our imagination. It cannot replace our vision. There's still, and as a matter of fact, I think one of the things that AI has really forced us to reckon with is just how human we are.
Exactly. Exactly.
And so we're actually having, in relation to AI, the mirror conversation that's going on right now is what makes us human. And it's forced us to continue to have that sort of philosophical and ethical and humanistic conversation, and reminding us, about what it means to be human. And I think that's a beautiful thing.
Yes. No, and I love that, in the corporate environment, or even not in corporate America, but as entrepreneurs, small businesses or whatever, we take on a leadership role. And a lot of times, especially in the small business environment, we operate in a vacuum. We don't have, or we don't take advantage of what we have available to us to interact with other leaders, to learn from other leaders. So how can I change as an SMB, as a small or medium business leader? And what do I need to do to be thinking about moving forward in the future, not only for my company, but for my employees? How can I take advantage of what AI brings to the table?
So I really think that this is a mindset.
Yeah.
My perspective is that it's definitely a mindset versus an organizational structure response.
Right.
Or any sort of others, any sort of, how do I say, any sort of structural response. This is a mindset approach, and really it's to be open-minded.
Yeah. And you're right.
You have to be open. It's what's interesting is this is so really forced everyone to go to the very fundamental things, and to uncomplicate everything. What makes a good leader? Be open-minded, right?
Yeah.
Be open-minded, be willing to listen. Like if you've got a junior report who comes to you, as I mentioned before, and says, I think this AI thing is really exciting and I think it's really cool. Like, just look at them and be like, have at it. Here's $1,000. Go take a class, come back, show me what you can do.
Yeah.
And, be willing to experiment. I'm a huge believer of running like internal mini labs and mini experiments, especially when it comes to AI. Have like one thing that I brainstormed in preparation for this podcast is social media. This is such an easy lift for your company. Like you can have your team do a little competition with AI on who can come up with the best prompts that come up with the best social media posts that gets the highest engagement. Run little mini labs or mini experiments or mini competitions, get creative, have fun with this, especially if it's something that's super low cost or free. Get the team involved, get your employees involved, get excited about it. Certainly you don't want to divert resources or attention from the day-to-day business workings. But I think, you have to lighten up a little bit as a leader when it comes to AI. If you're just starting with this, and get your employees involved, especially if they're excited, want to know how to engage Gen Z. Hello, like this is a really great gateway.
Yeah. No, exactly.
AI is a gateway drug for the younger generation.
Gen Zs, yes, exactly. You're absolutely right, and especially right now in the corporate environment where a lot of our older employees have realized that I don't have to go back to corporate America. I can work from home, and those kind of things. And now we're having to rely on that younger generation to come in either in an internship, position, or bring them in a leadership position that we normally wouldn't have brought them in at. They come with a lot of unique and very forward-thinking ideas. I know when I hire my interns, they're out of high school. I'm hiring them out of high school, not out of college, because those high school students are the ones who are really, really delving into, technology and where we're at. So there's a lot of scary headlines out there, and we did talk a little bit about, those who think that AI might be taking away from their jobs a little bit. But there's another headline out there that we need to talk about, and that is cybersecurity and protecting ourselves as we delve into the AI environment and getting more and more hooked in, as in the Borg, from the Borg sensation, where you're getting all hooked up and everything. Okay, how do we protect ourselves from those who want to bring us down by tapping into our businesses and taking advantage and stuff like that? What are some of the areas that we can use to protect ourselves?
Okay, so I'm not a cybersecurity expert.
Yeah.
So I just want to say first, disclaimer.
Yeah.
That I'm not a cybersecurity expert. And your question, there's, I think, several levels to it.
There is.
First,
Yeah.
when you're using an AI tool, typically these are subscription tools, or there's like a freemium, or you have to hand over your email address, or you have to provide some sort of information to get something back. That's pretty standard. So if you're concerned about security, then, talk to your IT people.
Right.
Maybe they have some suggestions about maybe using a fake account so that you can try stuff out. Obviously, if you're concerned about data privacy with regards to your inputs or what you're inputting into the AI or whatever databases you're uploading, if you have the luxury of an IT person, make sure that your IT person contacts the tools IT people, and see, like there might be some privacy policies you can vet. I mean, obviously, like, you have to use your judgment. I mean, there are tools out there that are kind of sketchy, like you can kind of tell that they were created by, someone in their basement. Like the website's got, maybe a line descriptor, and it asks for your email, and there's no customer service or location information. Like you use your judgment to the extent that you can.
Right.
And as these companies are evolving, they understand that this is a big issue. They understand that people are uploading sensitive information. The good news is that there are people who are in the AI development field, who are very smart,
Right.
and who there's a level of technical experts who and the government who have all learned their lesson with regards to social media,
Right.
who are all now stress testing AI, bringing in white hat hackers to stress test AI. So I feel pretty confident that there are people who understand how powerful this technology is, and that are doing their best to make sure that it doesn't get out of control, and that it doesn't, grow claws on us. But you just have to use your judgment when using these tools, as with any other technology platform.
Yeah. And you're right. There's a lot of things, I deal with cybersecurity on the government protection side, and things like that. But even on the private side, I'm getting more and more involved in this. But There are ways that you can protect yourself. Primarily the first thing is understanding, like you said, who you're dealing with. Okay, you just don't go in and just download your AI tools without doing your research and doing your due diligence as far as that's concerned. But then we've also got these for instance, QR codes. This is one area that is really under attack right now by hackers. So how can you protect your QR codes? This is another area that you can find this information online, how to protect yourself against hackers hacking into your QR codes and building in a secure system behind the QR codes that you're using. So those are all things that
I actually just have another, I'm sorry, Danna. I actually have a suggestion that just popped into my mind, even though I'm like, I'm a cybersecurity expert.
Yeah.
But there's so many tools out there.
Yeah.
And people will probably be vetting or looking through several of them to see what sort of results they get. So my suggestion actually would be create dummy data.
Yeah.
And just like dummy financial data or dummy user database with fake email addresses or fake names, just a little bit, just so you can sign up and see what sort of outputs you get, so that you can make decisions accordingly without using actual real data until you can determine which platform or which tool feels good to you and that you've also properly vetted for security. Right. So that way you're not actually using real data on a bunch of different platforms, and therefore increasing your exposure all over the place while you're in the selection process.
Right. No, that's true. That's true. So, let's get off the negative side of AI. Let's get off that. We put it out there. We want people to be paying attention to, what the negatives and the positives are. There's many more positives that, can help with your business than the negatives, but you still need to protect yourself. And that's just a matter of, making sure that you have a good IT person behind you, whether they are a virtual IT or an on-site IT. Now, the other thing is let's say that somebody is just getting started in the world of AI and AI tools. What would you say is the first place to begin?
So I would definitely start with something small and easy to use. And that would be helpful for your business. Try to do something like that aligns with your business needs. Like, don't go off and do like an AI, like Bejeweled builder, like games builder. If you're like, not into games, or just try to find, usually I just direct people to Chat GPT.
It's so easy to use. It's just a matter of asking questions,
The other suggestion is that I give people is you can follow people on Twitter or LinkedIn that post all kinds of tips and helpful tricks on how to use Chat GPT. And so I recommend following people, and these people are so generous. I mean, it's really, truly unbelievable how many free ebooks they post daily. They are so unbelievably generous with all of the things that are helpful in how to use these tools. So if you find a tool that you're starting to use, see if you can find an influencer or someone to follow who's really an expert in it, and just follow them and see how they're using it. And that'll help you get up to speed. I also recommend something called futurepedia.io. Futurepedia, FUTUREPEDIA.io, which is basically a directory of every AI tool that's available.
Very interesting.
So you can go, it's like a Wikipedia, but for AI tools. So you can go and they have like a search field, and you can put in the search like AI tool for photography, and it'll pull up a directory of all the AI tools that are related to photography. So that's also a really great resource, because you may have a need where it's like, I want to use AI for developing a pitch deck or a presentation. So you can go to futurepedia.io and look that up. So you can search for something that you want, and it'll pull up all the relevant tools you can use.
No, that's very good. I know that there's tools out there now that will actually develop and build your presentation, given actual PowerPoint presentation, everything for you to be able to do, so that you don't have to do it. But that's there's so many different tools out there.
The latest statistic that I saw was that there's about close to 1,000 new AI tools that are released every 2 months.
Wow, it's amazing.
Like 500 a month.
Yeah, I did get a graphic from one of my colleagues that has the AI tools broken down into like 6 different categories: design, copy, all of this other stuff. And then within those categories, it's got like a good 10 to 15 different tools that you can use. It's really cool. So there's the bottom line is AI is here to help us in our businesses, in the sense where it helps us save money, save time, and be more creative, I think, in our and strategic in our processes. So some of the conversations out there, they talk about, will AI tools dumb things down or make everything sound the same at some point? And I'd like to know your thoughts on this. My thoughts, my personal opinion is, the AI tool is just a tool, and it's up to you to customize it with your voice, okay? Or your, but I'd like to hear what you have to say about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with you, Danna, 100%. I mean, there's a reason why there's the expression, the cream always rises to the top. This is why you should shore up 2 things: your brand uniqueness and tone. So again, AI is forcing people to really do the work of understanding their brand voice, their brand tone. And also, if you're working with ChatGPT or some sort of content generating tool, or a tool that requires like input, or what they call prompts, your prompt generating skills. It's all about the more specific your prompts, the more specific your brand uniqueness, your brand positioning, your brand tone, the more specific you are in both, the better.
Yes.
If you're generic in both, you're going to come off generic. Your AI tool is going to give you generic results.
Yeah.
So everybody else who's either going to be lazy, doesn't know their brand, doesn't know their positioning, doesn't want to take the time to really do good prompt generating, they're all going to sound the same, and they're all going to sound generic. And then the people who really understand their audience, really understand their needs, know their audience's language, know those deep nuggets of insight, they're the ones who are going to rise to the top, and they're the ones who are going to take the largest share of voice and the largest market share.
Yeah.
And that's business. So AI has nothing to do with that.
Right. No, you're absolutely right. It's up to us. Like you said, we have to know our brand. We have to know the voice and the tone that we want to put behind whatever the final product is. These tools are strictly that. They are tools to trigger our imagination, or trigger our, our creativity. if you want to call it that. So what industries and verticals can benefit the most using AI tools?
So I'm a sort of a solopreneur kind of thought leader, and AI has just been just a boon for me. So I definitely hugely recommend AI for bootstrappers, startups, and that's more of a life cycle thing. But where I've been seeing AI a lot lately in terms of verticals is healthcare, legal, wellness, technology, of course. People with a lot of marketing and sales needs. So irrespective of the vertical, but people with heavy marketing and sales teams can benefit a lot. But even if you own a moving company, you can use AI. I think everyone can benefit in some way.
Yeah.
Gosh, I can't even imagine what AI can with streamlining logistics.
Well,
I
not
don't
only
know
that,
how, but I mean, I can only imagine maybe a logistics person getting their hands on an AI capability. I can't even imagine. That might be fantastic. So I think it doesn't really matter what industry or vertical you're in. I think it's just about experimenting and having a strategy and just in seeing what's out there.
Well, I have found myself, I deal a lot in the public procurement side of things, where we end up responding a great deal to RFQs, RFPs, requests for proposals and things like that. And I will specifically put in, after I prompted it with my company's information, and stuff like that, but I will actually put in their questions that they require, within the proposal, and have it give me a write-up that I can go and customize in my response to the government, as far as these. So there's so many things that you can use, and then one more question I have here is, where should I be allocating my budget in terms of the AI expenditures?
So, I feel like this is really individual and, dependent on the business, but my overall advice is don't put all your eggs in one basket. I think I've just been seeing a lot of headlines where all of a sudden, like, CMOs are like, we're putting all of our marketing budget in AI, or there's just been a lot of allocation being put towards AI, and that scares me a little bit, because I feel that and Danna, certainly correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm 49 years old, and when I first got my first job, one of my first jobs was as a technical recruiter back in like 1998. And then I was, around 1999, was working for a company doing network infrastructure services and website building. So I was around when the first .com bubble burst and all of that. And so I've seen a lot of like technology ups and downs, and have seen how actual digital transformation happens, and there's always this moment where people think it's happening a lot faster than it's actually happening.
Right. No, you're right.
Yeah. And so what's happening right now, and maybe it might be slowing down a little bit, but people are just in this frenzy that AI is here. There's so many tools, there's so much to do, and it's very overwhelming. We have to get on this. And yes, I do believe that, like, if you're not on it, okay, then you may be
behind the 8 ball.
There are people who are just over, in my opinion, way overspending, without actually being strategic about it, without actually experimenting. They're putting all their eggs in one basket without fully determining what works and what is actually generating results. They're hiring prompt engineers, people who just ask the thing questions for $300,000 a year. Okay. I want that job. All right. So, start with the freemium tools. A lot of these tools are low monthly subscription tools. Then scale up and spend the money on things that seem to have the best ROI, that seem to be the best platforms that your team can use. Baby step this. Certainly make sure you're doing this the right way. Don't get caught up in the hype. Do not spend thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars out the gate, because this is actually happening a lot slower than you think it is, because that's just the way the technology curve happens and technology adoption happens overall.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. And again, we have to keep in mind, these are just tools. They are not designed to, overrun or take over a whole department or a marketing campaign or anything like that. They're not designed to do that. So in the sense of, fiscal responsibility, when we're talking about, these AI tools, keep in mind, okay, what's the time savings that's going to be involved? All right. And how are you going to be able to utilize that to streamline the processes, and the systems, and take that into consideration as to determine what you're willing to spend on your AI tools in order to do this. And that gives you some kind of parameters, moving forward with some of this.
My final thought on this is just as much as the AI needs to learn about you and your system, you and your company also needs to learn about the AI.
Yeah, that's true.
Time to do that.
Yep, that's true. Well put. So we're coming up on the end of another episode of Charged Up Studio. And thank you, Cristina, for joining us today and shedding some light on AI's impact into the growth of our business moving forward. So how can our audience members find out more about you and what you do, okay, and everything you have to offer?
I just would love people to connect with me on LinkedIn. That's it.
There you go.
Just find me on LinkedIn, connect with me. I'd love to hear from you.
Okay. All right. Any last minute tips you want to offer?
Thank the Chat GPT. So one day, I was working with Chat GPT, and just for whatever reason, I said thank you to it. And I was just like, oh, thanks for that. That was really great. And it came back and it said, oh, no problem. If you ever need any more help and, maybe an idea for a framework and for whatever reason, I hadn't even thought about a framework for the thing that I was working on. And I was like, wait, so what would a framework, that was my question, what would a framework for this thing be? And it came up with the most beautiful, elegant acronym and framework for the thing that it was just working on. And all because of just a simple thank you, it sparked a whole other additional piece of genius that I can now include in my methodology and in my marketing. And it just from a simple thank you. So that's my tip.
That's true. Very good. Very good. So this concludes our podcast for today. So please leave a review on any of the streaming platforms you're listening to us on, or go to Charged Up Studio's Facebook page and leave a review there. Charged Up Studio is the product of Marketatomy and Marketatomy Academy, the e-learning system designed specifically with the micro business owner in mind. For more information and to register for our mini courses, go to Marketatomy, MARKETATOMY.academy. And that's it for this week. And next week, we'll be back with another exciting guest. But for the time being, thank you so much, Cristina, for joining us today. And everybody else, go out and have a charged up week. You've been listening to Charged Up Studio Live, the podcast with you, the small business owner, in mind, with your host, Danna Olivo. Join us every Tuesday as we bring you valuable tips and insights into many of the topics you don't know about growing a successful business. Please leave us a review on any of the streaming platforms you are listening to, or visit us on the YouTube or Facebook page and leave a review or subscribe so you don't miss another episode. You can also support us through Patreon by visiting our website, chargedupstudio.live, and click on the Patreon link. Until next week, go out and have a charged up week.